report. I'm going to break down each of the sections for you and talk you through how you can respond to that really well for your field report, which is due at the end of these holidays. Okay, most important thing that I want to make very clear to you is that you have to make sure that you're linking to the question of this field report, of this inquiry, in everything that you do, whether that's the introduction, or whether that's the body, or whether that's the conclusion. Everything you're doing is linking back to this main question that we've got here. I'm going to start off by looking at the environment section where you need to include your topographic map and climate graphs. As we do this, I'm going to make some dot points on this document here, which you can help to guide you through this task, knowing what to write and how to write it. So, for environment, you need to talk about your topographic maps and climate graphs. You also need to include one of those for each of the 3 sites that this farm has. So one for Nan, one for Langhorne Creek, and one for Mount Barker. So for each of those, what you need to do is talk about each of those topographic maps. You need to talk about the landforms at the site. Okay, and why these sites are suitable for farming. So what is it about this particular site that makes it good for farming Brussels sprouts? Why have these farmers chosen this place? So some of the landforms you might want to discuss are things like water sources. You might want to talk about the slope. So it might be that the slope is suitable for farming Brussels sprouts. You might want to talk about other landforms or other geographical features that make it suitable for farming. Okay. You probably want to talk about also whereabouts this farm is located. Particularly in relation to other places. So this could affect things like transportation. It could also affect things like the amount of rainfall, the temperature of the location. But don't talk too much about that because you're going to do that in the climate graph section below. All right. Let's have a look at the climate graphs. You're going to include 3 of those, one for each of the sites. And what you need to talk about is what this actual climate graph is showing. So what is the climate graph showing? So things like temperature, patterns, rainfall, seasons, in this section, it's probably important for you to use your knowledge about Brussels sprout growing seasons and what conditions are suitable for growing Brussels sprouts, because you'll talk about why these locations are good for growing them. So what is it? So what makes these locations suitable for growing? Okay. So in each of these 2 topics, you'll link it back to that main question about food security and about the selection of this site that makes it so suitable for being able to produce food, not just now, but into the future as well. So they've chosen these places, maybe because they're far away from housing development, or maybe because they're in a location that receives suitable amount of rainfall, or maybe because their slope is appropriate for growing sprouts. So always link back to the question. All right, now we're going to have a look at the technology section. This is where we're getting more into the second section of your body. I've chosen crop rotation as an example. So you might want to have a little introduction to the topics that you're going to include in this section. So you might be talking about like crop rotation, and what is another, actually that's in sustainable practices. Let's go change that from crop rotation to something like cooling technology. And say you've got another one like automated watering systems. Okay, your introduction is going to outline or talk about these two topics that you're going to cover, as well as making a link back to the main question. And then you're going to talk about each of these two topics in a little bit more depth. You're going to cover things like what it is, how it works, how the farm uses it, why they use it, the benefit to their farming practices, and a link back to the main question again. Okay. You're going to follow a similar formula for each of these things in this section. So for the automated watering system, again, we're going to look at what it is, how it works, how the farm use it, why, benefits, and link to question again. Now you're going to do the same thing when you get to sustainable practices as well. You may want to include more points of information in there, but remember you've only got about 1,200 or so words to cover all of these points. So yeah, be careful about how much you include for particular things like how it works and what it is. So be brief about those things, because remember this isn't an information report about those technologies or those systems, but really it's about addressing this question about food security and the changes that this farm's making to keep up with the world and changes in the world around them. So it's not, I'll say it again, it's not about the technology, it's not a fact report, but what this is an inquiry into how this farm is keeping up with the changes in the world around them, particularly surrounding this idea of food security. So you're going to do the same thing for sustainable practices. Then you're going to do a conclusion, and your conclusion is going to restate your position and the question. It's going to restate each of the points that you've made about technology, sustainable practices, and the environment. And then you're going to have a sentence which links to the future of farming and how this farm is going to be ready for that. Okay, don't forget to include a bibliography in here for all the sources that you've used. Please don't just include URLs. Put a properly referenced bibliography that you can get from our library's website using Access IT and the referencing generator. All right, good luck. Can't wait to see it. Make sure you're including images as well with sources, with captions on those that describe what it is. Just remember that. And I look forward to reading what you've done soon. I hope that helps.